Tony Romo is a name that brings up passionate debates amongst NFL fans and more likely the NFL East fans. He was a gunslinger with stats that no one can compare it to, and the plays that he did was insane, but he never took the Cowboys to a Super Bowl. So many question, where does he stand? Was Romo underrated, overrated, or just perfectly rated? Well, today we're diving into Tony Romo's career, his stats, his moments, and some of the debates that surround him years after his retirement. Let's start with Tony Romo's journey to the NFL, where he wasn't a first-round pick or a blue-chip recruit. In fact, he wasn't even drafted. Romo signed with the Cowboys as an undrafted free agent out of Eastern Illinois, which is insane to think about. Despite the odds, Romo worked his way up from a backup quarterback to the Cowboys starter by 2006. And once there, it didn't take long to show his potential as a big-time playmaker. Think, the undrafted kid became the face of America's team, something very few could have predicted. But yet, did he live up to the spotlight? And I know we can compare it to the Brock Purdy being the last man drafted and now the 49ers quarterback. When you want to compare him to today's game, I like to compare Tony Romo to Kirk Cousins if he had elite pocket awareness. And when you want to look at Tony Romo's skill set, it was something else. He had a quick release, ability to escape pressure, and a knack for making something out of nothing, which led to one of the most exciting plays of the Cowboys 20 to 2010s era. His accuracy on deep throws, along with the quick decision making, were just part of his game. And he finished his career with a 97.1 passer rating, one of the highest in NFL history at the time. And he also threw for over 34,000 yards. Statistically speaking, Romo's numbers put him along the elite level quarterbacks. Is it enough to call him one of the greats? While Tony Romo's career was filled with unforgettable moments, such as game-winning drives, clutch fourth quarter throws, and some plays that make you scratch your head, how he did it. There also came the lows, where Tony Romo had a growing stigma that he could not get it done in clutch time, and such as his infamous fumbled snap in the playoffs against the Seahawks. That was the biggest thing I could ever think of, and that is the thing that everyone wants to point and say that Tony Romo couldn't do it. He couldn't clutch up. And some of the late game interceptions that he would also have you scratching your head thinking, why did he throw that? And it seemed to mark his legacy, where for every thrilling comeback, there seemed to be a heartbreaking loss on the horizon. I'm pretty sure he leads the Cowboys in fourth quarter comebacks and things of that nature, but it's insane to think Tony Romo went through all of that, mostly getting injured. I mean, this guy was a constant in the blue tent, where he'd have broken ribs, back injuries. Don't get me wrong, he played through some of the pain and sacrificed his body for the game, of course, but those injuries took a toll on his performance, and it's crazy to think. I believe that 2007 season is the best indicator of what we could have seen from Tony Romo, and he was out of this world. Absolutely insane. And honestly, looking back at it, I wouldn't even say the 2007 season. That's the first season where it truly started. Let's go to his 2014 season, where his completion percentage was almost 70%, which is the best in Cowboys history. Passer rating, 113. Total QBR, 81.6. Yards per attempt, 8.5. Touchdown to intercept ratio, 3.8, which was second amongst qualified quarterbacks. He made the Pro Bowl. He was the Offensive Player of the Month in December. He was third in MVP voting. That's how good he was on his best day. But like I said, those injuries kept up with him. And it wasn't just the injuries. It's his playoff and his clutchness when it came to very, very big games. Regular season, hey, you got it. But the thing that haunted his legacy was his playoff record. He only has 2 playoff wins in his career. And yes, I know everyone wants to bring up the game where Dez, did he catch it, did he not? He probably did. But when you want to look at Tony Romo, a lot of critics point to this as why he couldn't win the most. When you want to compare it in contrast, his supporters argue that football is a team sport. Romo often lacked the defense or supporting cast to make a deep playoff run. Kind of like what I said before, right? He didn't have the stacked teams that we see come out of Dallas. Again, would like to say that Dak had a better team than Tony Romo did. I don't want to say he may not have had the better offense, but defense-wise, everything compiled, Dak's had a better squad and hasn't been able to do anything with it. But as an Eagles fan, I knew watching Tony Romo, we were either going to lose by 20 points or they weren't going to show up and we'd win by 20 points. I just knew it was very shaky. Again, when you want to look at it, even if the Eagles were losing, I knew the Cowboys once it hit December, they're done. They're not going to go far in the playoffs because they haven't and they never would. But is the playoff record a result of Romo underperforming, or was he a victim of some of the circumstances? It's a complex question. On one hand, he brought life to the Cowboys, broke records, and was a thrilling quarterback to watch. But his career lacks a Super Bowl ring, and his critics see his playoff struggles as a significant blemish. Some see him as an underrated quarterback who never got the recognition he deserved. Others believe he was overrated due to the media spotlight. And there's a case to be made that he was simply perfectly rated, a talented quarterback who did great things but couldn't reach the ultimate prize. And now when you want to compare it today, he found his new life as a broadcaster, where his insight and enthusiasm has made him a fan favorite. And honestly, I think they made him tone down some of the play calling that he made, because when you look at Tony Romo calling plays as a broadcaster, it was insane. He knew exactly what was going on. He knew what coverage it was. He knew who was in motion. He knew who was mic'd up. It was crazy. And I just think about, if he knows all of this as a broadcaster, and he knew this in his career when he played, why wasn't he carving up defenses more than he did? That's a little by the wayside, but still. His ability to predict plays and break down the game just shows how sharp his IQ was and still is. In many ways, Romo's career in the broadcast booth added to his legacy. He's shown that his knowledge of the game is second to none. Some like him as a broadcaster, some don't. I liked him before. I don't really have hatred for too many people. Maybe Chris Collinsworth, I'm not too sure. But where does Tony Romo truly stand? Is he overrated, underrated? Has he gotten the credit he deserves? Or is he just perfectly rated? Tony Romo's legacy is still up for debate, but one thing is certain: he was one of the most exciting quarterbacks of his era, and he'll be remembered as a player who made the Cowboys fans believe, and maybe that's enough.
So again, is it enough? Like I said, I'm an Eagles fan. I think he's a little underrated. Many people don't give him the credit that I think he deserves. I think he deserves to be that best quarterback in Cowboys history, name that it should be synonymous with his name. Tony Romo, you think the best quarterback in Cowboys history. Injuries, yes, it plagued him a lot. He didn't have the best team. Defenses were terrible when he played. I think Tony Romo needs more respect, because watching him as a kid, man, I would see the Eagles lose by 20, 25, and I would always see Tony Romo heading the charge, dropping 35 points on our head. But when you want to compare him to today, I like to, again, say that he's a Kirk Cousins that has better pocket awareness, can run. I just think of him as a souped-up version of Kirk Cousins, and he deserves more respect than he has been given. And in saying that, it is enough for me. I think that even though playoff-wise, he did not get it done, I think that quarterback-wise, he is the best that the Cowboys have ever seen, and we'll see for a while, given that they don't win any Super Bowls, which they won't, because go Birds. If you guys made it this far in the video, thank you guys. This video came as a response to a comment. Someone wanted to see a Tony Romo video, so that's what we do. We'll make videos based off comments and things of that nature, so make sure you comment, because whatever you want to see, we will make. And as always, it's been Studs.